If you're in search of a bed rack for your adventures that will provide a ton of accessory storage space and usable utility for your 2020 or newer JT Gladiator, this XRS Overland Extreme Rack in Texture Black will be a great addition to your build. Now, this is going to be a great option for the avid overlander or general trip taker who needs to maximize the storage space on their Gladiator for their accessories, including, but of course not limited to, a rooftop tent, Rotopacks, recovery tools, off-road jacks, and more. Now, this will also be a great addition if you want a rack that's going to offer the ability to add features like a table or handles on the back, and also allowing you ample vertical space in the bed for that additional cargo. Now, this will feature a full bed rack design, meaning that it's going to meet the roof of the Jeep and extends all the way back to the tailgate. This will also feature a tough build to be able to support any of that larger cargo on top, with multiple 4-quart crossbars that accept any 1/4 inch by 20 hardware. This is also going to have a plethora of attachment space on the sides for accessories that are compatible with the standard MOLLE system. As you can see here, this is going to offer a ton of space over on the side. This again is also going to accommodate for that optional fold-down table design for the workable space, or just stopping down on the trail for lunch. And on the rear bars, again, those optional handles to either hang your recovery straps from or use it for accessibility to access the top of the rack. Now, again, I would like to mention that this is only going to come with the rack and one accessory gear plate, but you can add on to this to customize to your personal preference. Now, this rack is going to be strong, like I mentioned before, made of an aluminum and a steel construction, which will offer some weight savings in the meantime compared to other full steel choices. This will also feature a nice texture black powder coat finish to protect the metal underneath and, of course, achieve more of an off-road aesthetic. Not to mention, this will work with or without the Mopar bed rail track system, so you can keep some peace of mind there, knowing that you don't necessarily have to remove the system if it's still working for you. When it comes to price, this is going to come in at roughly $1,100, putting this at a pretty average price point for a full rack. Now, compared to other options, though, this is going to have that MOLLE style attachment system and specific optional attachments, offering an abundance of ways to configure it. In addition to that, this is also going to incorporate the full rack design compared to other half racks or lower mounted systems, making this a great option if you need that additional vertical space inside the bed and you're looking for one that you can count on. When it comes to install, this is going to come in at a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you roughly 4 hours to get the job done. So at this point, we can head over to the shop and check out a detailed breakdown of the install process. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, a 15mm wrench, a plastic pry tool, a little extension, an 11, 13, and 15mm socket, and a 4mm Allen bit. What's up, guys? Today we're installing a bed rack on our Gladiator, so let's get started. So our first step is to assemble our front and rear hoop. Now we have our bars laid out. We're gonna be using our 4-inch bolt with a lock washer and a flat washer. That's gonna go through the side with the logo on it. And then on the inside of here, up against this piece, we're gonna have 2 of our 2 1/4 inch washers. So you can pick this up. We're going to be sliding this piece inside of this one. Then we can grab one of our washers and slide it in. And slide our bolt through. And then we'll slide our other side washer through. I've got a little pry tool here just to shove it down in there. And now once we get to this point, we can do the same thing with our other bar. So our next step, on the studs sticking out that we just installed, we're going to be putting another one of our 2 1/4 inch flat washers, followed by 2 of our 4-gauge spacers, and then 1 of our 16-gauge spacers. And we'll do that on each side. And then up next, we can install our tubes. Now we have our threaded insert on the edge here. Right behind that, there's going to be either 1 or 2 holes. The 1 hole is the top tubes and the 2 holes are the bottom. So then once we have all of our spacers installed, we can get that lined up and start threading that in. So now we have the piece that we just assembled as well as our other side. I've already got our 2 1/4 inch washer with our 2 4-gauge spacers and our 16-gauge spacer installed on each side. So now all we have to do is lift up on the tubes, and then we can hand thread our nuts or hand thread our bolts from this side into our tubes. And I'm just going to grab a 15mm socket, just to twist our bolt. So now that we have all of our bars hand threaded into place, we can go ahead and tighten all of them down with a 15mm socket. Now you're going to want to make sure that the 8 threaded holes are facing in and the 6 threaded holes are facing out. And you want the ones facing in to be at a slightly upward angle. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. So our next step is to take our 1-inch long hex bolts with a flat washer. We're going to be feeding them through the second hole here to line up with our tongue off of our main bar. And then same on the other side. And then we can run them in the rest of the way with a 15mm socket. Now on the other side, we're going to be putting a lock washer and a nut. And then we can take a 15mm socket and a 15mm wrench to tighten these down. And then we can repeat that same step for the rest of our legs. Now our next step is to begin installing our top bars. So these are going to lay right onto the threaded holes on either side. We're going to be using our button head bolts with the captured lock washer and washer. So we can hand thread those in. Now if your holes aren't lining up, you can loosen those top bolts on all 4 corners to allow our tubes to spin so that you can adjust it properly. And then we'll just take a 4mm Allen bit to tighten up these bolts. And then we can repeat that same process for our 3 remaining top bars. So our next step is to install our feet. Now we have a square edge that's going to be pointed inbound towards the bed. And then we have an edge with a little slit cut out of it. That's going to be facing outward. So we can slide this in. We're going to get another one of those 4-inch bolts with a washer. We can get that through the hole. Then on the other side, we're going to do just like we did for the top with our 2 1/4 inch washer, 2 of our 4-gauge spacers, and 1 of our 16-gauge spacers. Slide that onto the end of the bolt. Then we can do the same thing on our other side. And then we can grab our bottom bar. Remember, this is going to be the one with the 2 holes on the edge. We can slide that into one side. So now once we have our bottom bar and our feet in place, we can take a 15mm socket to tighten down our bolt. Now, just like on the top, we're gonna be taking our inch bolt with a washer and sticking it through the second hole from what's now the top with it upside down. And then we'll use our 1¼ inch vinyl spacers right in between here. And then on the other side, we'll take a lock washer and a nut. And then we can take a 15mm socket and 15mm wrench to tighten these up. And then we can repeat that same process for our other 3 sides. So our next step is to install our side rails. Now there's going to be a circular hole at the top on all 4 corners. This is for any accessories that you might add down the line. So we're going to put that hole at the top, because if we flipped it, then we'd be fighting gravity where our accessories could slip out. So we'll line it up. We're once again using our button head bolts, but the captured lock washer and washer, just like we did for our top bars. And now once we have all of our bolts hand tight, we can tighten those down with a 4mm Allen bit. And then once we're done with this one, we can repeat the same process for our other 5. So now that we have our rack fully assembled, now's a good time to grab yourself a buddy to help you lift up the rack onto the bed rails. So now once we have our rack installed onto our bed rails, we can install our brackets to fully mount it. Now the little teeth on the bracket are going to go on the inside and press against the bed rail. We're going to be using 2 of our carriage bolts coming through the backside. And then we can fish that up into place. And then we'll add a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. And then while we put upward pressure on our clamp, we can tighten those nuts down with a 13mm socket. And now once we have one of our brackets tightened down, we can do the same thing for our other 3. So now our last step is to install our accessory plate on the side of our rack. We're going to be using 6 of our hex head bolts. These are going to go into those little holes we pointed out earlier. We're going to go 2 on each of our side rails. So to make this a little bit easier, I've put a little strip of tape under each of our bolts here. That way it'll hold it into place while we get our accessory piece on. This will still allow our bolts to move up so we have some adjustability, so your tape lines don't have to be perfectly set up. So then we'll just grab that panel. We'll put our top bolts in first. And then we can slide that up to line up our bottom ones. So now once we have our accessory piece mounted, our next step is to install a flat washer and a nut onto each of our studs. And to make it a little bit easier, since there's not a lot of room to get your hand in and still be able to twist, I'm going to grab an 11mm socket on a little extension. And then we'll just repeat that for all of our studs. And now I've slid it up a little bit so that we can get our bottom studs to straighten out. And And then we can continue with our washer and our nut on the bottom ones. And then we can just peel back on our tape. And now for our top tape, I'm gonna take a little plastic pry tool just to get in there and get that off. And now lastly, once we have everything adjusted how we like it, we can take our 11mm socket to fully tighten down all of our nuts. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Overland Extreme Rack for your 2020 and newer Jeep Gladiator JT. Thank you for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.